Andy Barlow with the Barlow Brain and Body Institute, and welcome to part 3 of Frontal Lobe. So this is going to be some simple ways in which we can activate the frontal lobe. It's kind of like buying a car. You can go as expensive as you want to. I actually run a private clinic. It's not sponsored by some university where I can, they can purchase a gyro stem, which costs hundreds of thousands of dollars, or some type of BNG, which is $30,000, or some other $120,000 pieces of equipment. I'm not saying that it's necessarily a bad thing. I'm just saying I run a functional neurology clinic in private practice with no government grants, no university studies. I'm just in here just crunching it every day in my clinic. So what I want to do is show you some very cost-effective ways in which you can actually treat a frontal lobe dysfunction. So one of the first things that we have to do is to treat these frontal lobe issues is that you've got to do, in most situations, you're going to have to do a 10-week detox. Okay, I use a detox system through Apex Energetics because when you have a decreased functioning brain, the vagus nerve, okay, it has a bidirectional pathway, and we actually are going to lose the semi-permeable membrane, and we're going to start to leak contents from our gut like lipopolysaccharide, gluten, undigested proteins, casein into our bloodstream. Then it's going to get into our bloodstream, damage our liver, potentially our kidney, and we get this inflammatory cascade that goes throughout our entire body, including our brain. So one of the biggest mistakes that healthcare professionals make is that when somebody comes in with a brain problem, focus, attention, concentration, early onset dementia, movement disorders, what everybody does is they look at the blinky light and they look at the brain. Okay, and I'm not saying that you can't help people just by looking at the brain, but what we have to do is realize that the brain communicates with the gut through the vagus nerve, and the vagus nerve communicates with the gut communicates with the brain through the vagus nerve. So we actually have to address both of these simultaneously. I was at a seminar this past weekend, and I went to one part of the seminar was talking about brain health. The other part of another seminar by a completely different person was talking about gut health, and hell, they might as well have been, like Mars talking to planet Earth. I mean, they were like, and it's like, okay, in order to optimize both, you actually have to address both simultaneously. Now, I'm not saying that you can't enhance cortical function just by stimulating the brain. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that you can't improve gut function just by giving people certain supplements and actually helping the microbiome and getting rid of inflammation. I'm not saying that. It's like saying this, if you will. You go to a fast food restaurant and you're eating at that fast food restaurant 3 days a week, and you're 50 pounds overweight, and you go to the gym. Is going to the gym going to be beneficial? Yes. Even if you're eating these at the fast food restaurant 3 days a week, okay, going to the gym is going to benefit you at some level. But if you're trying to lose 50 pounds, you may drop 20 and you just can't get past that point. And I'm not in the business of just kind of helping people. I'm in the business of changing people's lives. Okay, and that's what I do. So in order to, again, I can't say this enough, in order to enhance cortical function, you have to actually address gut function at the same time. So one of the key components here that is big time overlooked is when you're doing an exam and you see someone that has a potential frontal lobe function, ask them about focus, attention, and concentration. Got that? Check, check, check. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. And then ask them about their gut function and go, what about gastric reflux? What about bloating? What about distension? What about constipation? And then also, I don't have any x-rays up here, but when we actually look at the lumbar spine in an A to P, you can start to see all these gastric air pockets in there, okay? This inflammation, this similar to irritable bowel syndrome, which is inflammation in the gut. And it's like I tell people all the time, inflammation in the gut, inflammation in the bloodstream, inflammation in the body, fibromyalgia, joint pain, focus, attention, and concentration. So we have to address all of those simultaneously. Now, The frontal lobe with focus, attention, and concentration. A simple thing that we can do, very simple. All right, you can take just a box you're going to throw away, or this is what you're going to tell a patient. And what you're going to do is you're going to write out 20 different things, like plane, rabbit, cat, the World Trade Center, let's see what else, grocery store, home, living room. Just pick up 10 things, kangaroo, giraffe, I don't care, it doesn't matter, cameras, what I'm talking on right now, lights, okay, TV. Take 20 of those things and we're going to put them in a box. And then what I want you to do is we're going to take out 5 of those, okay, 5 of those 20, and you're going to set them down and you're going to repeat those. All right, and the reason you're going to leave these out, okay, not that you can look at them, but the reason we're going to leave these out is because this allows us to maintain focus, attention, and concentration, and then we're going to have recall. Okay, you can have recall in 1 minute, 2 minutes, and 5 minutes. Okay, but again, the critical component of this is we have to leave this out. The little tear off sheets of paper, leave them out, don't look at them, and then come back in a minute and see if you can remember all 5 in the same order. If a person gets frustrated and they can't do that, then we're going to have to break this down and start doing 4 of these at one time. So take 4 things out. A minute later you come back, you can't do that, then let's drop it down to 3. Okay, because one thing that I've learned a long time ago, patients are constantly frustrated in the rehab, they're just not going to do it. All right, so you can do it another way if you want to. You could say, what I want you to do to start with is we're going to have 20 different names in this box. We're going to pick out 3 of them. We're going to look at them. We're going to set them off to the side. You're going to set your phone for a timer, and in 1 minute we're going to come back and we're going to see if we can remember those. Then 5 minutes later we're going to come back and do the same thing. So that focus, attention, and concentration. So see, if they can do 3 of those, okay, then the next time we do the rehab, we're going to pick 4 of them. So we're going to titrate up, and a healthy human being should be able to maintain at a minimum 5 different, name 5 different things in recall. Okay, now if you want to be a super stud or studette, and God forbid if I were to offend somebody, then we should be able to do 7 objects, numbers, whatever. If you want to, you can also have them in another box. You can have them pick out or write down 0 through 9. All right, and then we're going to pick out 3 different numbers. Boom, boom, boom. If they can recall that in a minute, then we'll come back in 5 minutes and see if they can recall that. If they can recall it, then we're going to titrate up to 4. Then we'll go up to 5 numbers. Okay, but we have to again leave it out so that they can make sure that they have the exact number. All right, and then one thing I did forget about this. One thing we need them to do is on a sheet of paper, they're going to write out what it was. Okay, if it was a plane, a rabbit, a car, a cat, and then a giraffe, they're going to have to write that out, and then they're going to look at it. They're going to look at the numbers. So if the number was 26847, then they should be able to come back 26847. They write it down 26847 to make sure that number is the same number they wrote down as what they did. And then wherever the sticking point is, if it's at 4 numbers, we have to stay at that, or 4 objects. We're going to stay at that until we can master that in 1 minute and 5 minutes. And then we'll go up to 5, then 6, then 7. It's a very simple way to do that. Another way to rehab the frontal lobe is when we look at our finger nose. Okay, so if this person has this breakdown, okay, with this area, okay, let's say we're smooth here and we have this breakdown here. What we're going to have to do is this cerebellum is presynaptic to the contralateral parietal lobe and frontal lobe. So we're going to have to do non-linear complex movements. So what does that mean in English? You can do the figure 8, okay, or what I have patients do is we're going to move our finger in the air. Okay, and this is the key component. You're only going to move it as fast as you can actually follow the finger, because me actually moving this hand, okay, this is going to activate my frontal lobe on the contralateral side. All right, muscle spindles, Golgi tendon organs are firing into this left brain at area 3, 1, and 2, and this is also going to fire back to 5 and 7 for eye-hand coordination. So we're going to use all of those at the same time as a multimodal approach to stimulate the cerebellum ipsilaterally, okay, and the frontal lobe, contralaterally, and the parietal lobe. So this real simple. So we'll write our ABCs in cursive: A, B, C, D, okay, E. All right, and then we're only going to do that as fast as we can follow it, because this person has this lesioned area, not a pathological lesion, but a functional lesion on this side. Then they're not going to be able to follow this finger if they go real fast. So we're going to go just as fast as we can actually follow the finger, and then we can come back in and do a finger to nose, and we can actually see how much better they are. Now, if a person has balance problems where we're closing our eyes, and let's say we're kind of swaying off here, falling to the right side, what we want to do, again, this cerebellum on the right side, I know this can be a lot of different things. This could be, this person could have peripheral neuropathy and losing sensation in their feet, yada, 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 but let's just keep it as simple as we can. We're falling to the right. This could be a potential right cerebellar problem. The right cerebellum with my right leg fires to the parasagittal space here. Look where the homunculus is in the parasagittal space. And then what we're going to do is you can hold on to something, take your shoes off, and we're going to do nonlinear complex movements, and we're going to look at our big toe, our great toe, while we're doing that. So that's a great way to stimulate the frontal lobe, and you don't have to buy any fancy equipment. Now, another way to do this is going to be rock, paper, knife. Rock, paper, knife. Okay, so again, in functional neurology, what we do is we find something that a person can't do, and guess what? That's the rehab. Okay, so if somebody's coming in here and they go, man, I can do 10-pound curls over here, but and that 10 pounds I'm really straining up here. Well, guess what? If you're having weakness on this right side, we're going to have to rehab that part of your anatomy. Now, the crazy thing about this is they did a study in which they were doing bicep curls, and not only, of course, did they notice that, hey, this guy's biceps are getting huge, okay, but the study, what it concluded is even though the bicep grew, the nerve, the musculocutaneous nerve that went to that muscle grew faster than the actual muscle itself. That's called neuroplasticity. So we want to activate through this movement, we want to activate brain-derived neurotrophic factors. We want to get a good blood flow to not just the extremity, but the part of the brain that actually controls that extremity, okay? And we want to activate brain-derived neurotrophic factors to create neuroplasticity. That's the key phrase there, is neuroplasticity. So if we have a problem with this coordination, like rock, paper, knife, okay, and they can't really figure out what's going on here. And if you'll start doing that test, you'll notice that they may be slower on one side, they're uncoordinated on one side. So what we do is we get a metronome. You can actually, nowadays, you can go online and just Google search metronome and we're going to start at 40 beats a second. So we're going to see if they can actually hit on the beat, okay? And if they can do 40 beats a second, okay, then we're going to go up to 44. All right, then we're going to go up to 50, and 54 is the actual top end number. So start at 40, go to 44, then go to 50, and then 54. Okay, rock, paper, knife. We're going to do that for 1 minute. Okay. Now, so that's another simple test that we can do. All right, so another test that we can do is we can actually fixate on an object, okay? So I do this a lot at home whenever I've got a vagal nerve stimulator that I use here, and then while I do that is I fixate on an object at home, and then I turn my head right and left. Okay, so what's key here is not the head movement. The key here is the fixation, okay? Because being able to fixate on an object without looking around, okay, being able to fixate on it is a frontal lobe function. Guess how much that costs for fixation? Nothing. All right. So, and then another thing that I do at home, and patients can do this while they're doing some type of exercise. Let's say that you're doing some kind of modified push-up. Okay. Then what we can do is when I'm doing push-ups, what I'm doing is whenever I'm taking a deep breath in, with each push-up that I do. Okay. Now you can modify that and make that anything you want to with your rehab. Like your rehab, if you're doing squats, then what we can do is the same thing. Whenever you're going down on the squat, you can And when you come up, you can fixate. Very simple. You can go to Walmart, just buy some dots, or they sell them for like $1,000 for just a couple of dollars, and put one dot here and one dot there, and just go back and forth while you're doing your weights or your push-ups. I actually do body weights at home. All right. Another thing that we can do in the clinic or at home, is we can actually do these actual saccades themselves. Okay, this back and forth, and also vertical eye movements. All right. So vertical eye movements mainly, or not mainly, it activates the mesencephalon. Why is that? Because vertical eye movements are controlled by cranial nerve 3 and 4. 3 and 4 are in the mesencephalon. I'm trying to drop this down so we can see that. Vertical eye movements through the interstitial nucleus of Cajal. And then when we go side to side, okay, here, this is also activating not only our frontal lobe, but this is also activating our pontine area through the pontine paramedian reticular formation. So horizontal movements are firing our frontal lobe, okay, and our pontine area, and our vertical eye movements are firing our mesencephalon and frontal lobe. So to recap today, this is pretty straightforward, pretty simple, I think. I'm trying to give a no-cost approach to actually doing this, this type of rehab. So the first thing we said is that focus, attention, and concentration has to do with the frontal lobe. Now this is a precursor to depression. Also, I always ask patients, do you walk into a room and forget why you walked in there? Do you call somebody on the phone and you forget why you called them? All of these are frontal lobe focus attention problems. So how can we do this? We're going to take 2 boxes. One box, you're going to put objects, animals, buildings, and we're going to take them out. First 3, see if you can recall in a minute, come back in 5 minutes, and if you can do that, then we're going to titrate up to 4, then 5, then 6, then 7. In another box, we're going to take numbers, okay? And these numbers, 0 through 9, we're going to take out 3 numbers. Can you recall it in 1 minute? Can you recall it in 5 minutes? If you can, we're going to titrate up to 4 numbers, 5, 6, and then 7 numbers. So for focused attention and concentration, we have to do a test that's called finger to nose. Okay, there's a lot of tests that we can do, but finger to nose is the easiest one. If they come off to target, then we're going to follow the finger and do our nonlinear complex movements, ABCs, while we're following the ABCs. The standard test for Romberg's is feet together, hands on your hips. You should be able to hold that position for 15 seconds. Let's just keep it right cerebellum, boom. I know it could, if you fall to the right, again, I'm not saying it's just right cerebellum. It could be a lot of different things going on right there. But we're going to look at take our shoe off, look at our great toe, and we're going to write our ABCs with our toe. All right. Another thing that we can do is rock, paper, knife. We want to see if we have a controlled, coordinated movement to that. If they can't do that, then you can just Google interactive metronome. We're going to start at 40 beats a minute. Okay, hit right on the beat. We're going to go up to 44. If they can do that, we're going to go up to 50 and then top in at 54 beats a minute. We can do saccades, horizontal, vertical, and then when patients are working out, if they actually work out, which they should be doing at some level, then they can actually do saccades, vertical and horizontal, while they're doing their exercises. Also, what I recommend at home is to fixate on an object. Okay, while we fixate, we can turn our head right and left, activating the horizontal canals, and we can activate forward and back through the anterior and posterior canal. Anything you do to the cerebellum on the right side is presynaptic to the left brain. Anything I do to the cerebellum on the right side is left side is presynaptic to the right brain. So I hope that helps you. I'm trying to use some very simple and basically zero cost to you as the doctor. I give entire seminars on brain function through the Barlow Brain and Body Institute, and I enjoyed giving the seminar today, and I hope you got something out of it, and thank you very much.